To- Today, I am meeting with Naomi. And first of all, if you don't know, Naomi and I are cousins.
Luckier am I.
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm pretty lucky to have you for a cousin. I remember Naomi started posting some things about astrology. What was that, 2 years ago? 3 years
Probably
ago?
at least. I mean, I've been posting off and on for many years, but I think I got a little bit more brave like 2 or 3 years ago.
And I thought, oh, that's really weird. I don't know why she would think that's interesting. It just kind of, I don't know. And then she started doing some things about human design, and I looked it up and was like, oh, that's interesting. And so I talked my best friend into going to a retreat with Naomi. I think that was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Human design, and also with Donnie Angel. And anyway, and then when her astrology certification came up again, the next cohort, and I felt like Heavenly Father was telling me to do it, I was like, wait, what? I had dabbled a little bit. I had taken your Astrology for Real Connection course, and just like your big three or something. It's just some really basic things, but that's all I really knew. And I still was really having a hard time connecting any dots. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I'm so glad I did. And then I got the certification just like almost 2 months ago, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Which is such a big deal.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, and so now I use it with my clients, and they'll say something's happening. I said, let's pull up your chart and let's see how that might be showing up for you in your chart. And it's just another way of validating their experience and giving them permission that it's okay to be them and that there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And I just love that.
Yeah. It's my favorite thing too. I never tire of being able to give people permission to just be who they actually divinely are, which is usually the version of this that we've been craving to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's my side of the story. What else do you want to share?
Well, I absolutely loved having you come to that retreat. That was so incredible. Like anytime I get to share this with somebody that I've had in my life for a really long time, it's really quite special because I know for me, I lived very untrue to myself for several decades and didn't really understand how out of alignment that I actually was with myself. So it's such a joy to be meeting somebody in that for the first time, but especially to be able to be that light if they're feeling drawn to this, if they want to invite me to share. And so that was extra special for me personally. And I really just enjoyed having you there and watching you kind of blossom as you've been doing this and really embrace so much more of who you actually are has been really, really wonderful. Plus you've just been gaining all these certifications and just really refining yourself and your business so much more. And so it's just been incredible to watch you soar. So I've loved that. And of course, having you in the cohort was just fantastic. And all the discussions that we get to have in there are just incredible.
Yeah. I'm one of the things I'm glad about is that I have lifetime access to
Yes.
what we did, because sometimes I go, I'm not sure. I think I need a refresher on this part of it, and I can go
100%.
back and rewatch, and I can even rewatch the live Q&As we did. I don't know if that's forever too, but
Yes. Yeah.
okay. And someone said they have lists, and I'm like, okay, I need to go back and start lists of some of these things, and I would love to go back and watch all of them over again. I don't know if that'll actually happen because I keep signing up for new things.
New things are wonderful.
But I love that I have that. If I need it, I can go back to it and refer to it and learn again, and keep growing in how I understand how this applies to my life and the people's lives that I love.
I love that so much. Yeah, you have lifetime access. And also, like, if I make any other updates, if I decide, like, oh, I'm going to add this section, or we're going to talk about something else within the Light-Filled Astrology certification course, that's free forever to anybody who has ever signed up. And that's so important to me because, yeah, you're certified now. And that is really fantastic that you've been able to become certified. And in a lot of ways, you're still at the beginning of your journey. You now have like the foundational information so that you can translate when you are learning about astrology, or if you're going to go down a rabbit hole of one particular part, like body astrology, medical astrology, understanding transits, like all of that, you have the basic language down. And so you really can incorporate it and do all the different things. Like, you're doing such unique things with it. You're definitely not like just an astrologer. You have integrated it with your healing practices, which is the majority of people who come through this don't necessarily want to be an astrologer, but they want to incorporate it with the other healing modalities that they're already using.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, there is so much information in the elemental astrology certification, light-filled astrology certification, that part of my brain goes, is there more to learn? It feels like there's, that was so much. It's hard to imagine that there was more than that. Although I have felt that way about human design several times, and then I'll discover another part of the chart that I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't see that part. That would be fun to explore sometime.
Oh no, I already have the outline that I've started for the professional certification for astrology, that just, it takes either what we've already done and goes like just over it again and again. So it really, really, like, you really get it, or introduces entirely new things that we haven't even covered, because you have to understand that first layer. Like, you have to really, really get the natal chart. You have to really, really understand like how transits move, and then you can go into some really wild stuff.
I'm gonna believe you.
And it's also 100% okay for people that, like, quote, just want to learn like the foundational stuff, because that's plenty, and you can help yourself and understand the people around you and be able to run charts to be able to facilitate healing and things like that. But for those that also do want that, like, they really, really want to understand astrology and be a professional astrologer, I'll be doing that. I have so many ideas. It's definitely no dates announced on that one yet, but and also I need to look for the invitations. Like, as a projector in human design, this program came about because first I was invited to do sessions for people when I started learning about astrology. And then I was invited to teach about it because people were like, well, can I learn more? And then after teaching about it, like the Astrology for Real Connection course, people were like, could you please certify in this? So I know that it's time when I start getting varied, unrelated people inviting me to do something. So I've got a couple of things in the works that I'm prepped for, that I'm pretty sure the invitations are going to come, but like, they're big. I need to rest a little bit more, and then we can go down those roads.
That's really interesting, because I also am a projector in human design, and I'm still learning to recognize the invitations, but I will get there.
It is an experiment. It took me a while before I even like got the basic rhythm of it. And then once you do that, then you can kind of start to explore. But it took me a while because my mind just ran with all the data, which is beautiful, but then it has to like live in you. Otherwise, it doesn't really make a difference. It's just something for your brain to chew on before that. But when you get it like in you and you're like, that's what a real recognized 10 out of 10 invitation looks and feels like. It's like, okay, then you like set that standard, and you just know that if it's not quite that level of an invitation, it's just not going to work out as well if you move with it. There's no projector police that are going to show up and be like, you accepted the wrong invitation, or you didn't wait properly, or whatever, but your life will show it.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that I've been really trying to focus on is rest. Rest and recognizing when I'm doing too much. Because as projectors, we have a hard time knowing when enough is enough, right?
Oh yeah, basically we are nearly incapable of it. So I still sometimes feel like I'm guessing when I'm like,
Mm,
I've done too much today. It's like, if I'm asking that, I've definitely done too much today.
yeah. Um,
I love
yeah.
seeing the wheels turning. And it's all beautiful. Like, us doing too much is exactly right in order because it's all teaching us. And when we get into our bitterness, that's our sacred signal that we are not living true to ourselves and all of the things. And so, like, we do get into, obviously, in the cohort, in the live Q&As, we get into answering some questions about human design and as well, because it's pretty much impossible to just look at one only. But being able to just be in that safe place and understand the basics of yourself while deep diving into astrology is it's just so fun.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, I just had an aha while we were sitting here about astrology, because when I said to you, I'm always learning more things. And then I was like, wait, where does that show up in my chart? But my sun is in Sagittarius, and that would be higher education, right?
Well, and it's also the truth seeker. So Sag wants the truth more than like air, more than anything else, more than intimate relationships, more than anything you can come up with. Sagittarius energy is a persistent pursuer of the truth. And you can't be a truth seeker and be satisfied with what level of information you have now, because there's always deeper truths, there's always more light, there's always more to pursue. And so we are the ones that are kind of voraciously seeking that higher education, because we are the ones that are here to teach. The Sagittariuses are the teachers of the zodiac. Anybody can teach, for sure. Like, there's phenomenal teachers of all signs, but the sign that naturally is like, I'm going to gather data so that I can share it, is going to be the Sagittarius energy.
Mm. And that's what you are also.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you've spoken about how much you love truth, though, I go, I don't know if I love truth that much.
I have reasons in my chart, and also just it's in my wiring of why I fiercely love truth. Like, we're talking the kind of truth that is so uncomfortable, where you like, and I wasn't always this way. I really preferred the version of truth that made it so that harmony could exist. Like, I thought that I wanted just that, like, everybody getting along.
Yeah.
But I paid a very high price for prioritizing that harmony over truth. And so now it's like written on my heart. And I would much rather somebody come to me and, kind or unkind, but tell me what they really think. I prefer it to be kindly, yes, always, but I would much rather to know what somebody has a problem with me, or a situation, or if something ugly is happening inside of them. I'd much rather know that than live in a fantasy world anymore. Because if we are struggling in a fantasy, we can never heal. But if we're struggling in reality, that's where we can actually get out of the struggle. So I'm the friend that people call when they want a reality check. You don't call me with your struggle if you want to stay in your fantasy, because I'll just point it out. And so if you're calling me and saying, hey, I'm having this problem, and that's how it is with a session too with me, is it's like, we're going to get to the real stuff, because if your feet are on the ground in reality, you can actually get somewhere. But if you're walking in the clouds, you're going to be in and out of that struggle forever until you actually deal with what's really happening and you get to the truth of it. You can't heal, you can't progress, you can't get your goals. And it's like taking a shot of heroin, and you're just numbing yourself out and creating new problems, and you're in this cycle. It's really no different. And so, and I'm so fierce about this, because I was like the queen of like whitewashing my life and being like, no, everything here is lovely. And it's like bombs are going off in the background and pure chaos is happening. And I'm like, it's great. And so I understand why I chose to do it that way. And I still love and have compassion for that version of me. And I'm also so grateful I'm not that way anymore, because now the joy that I have is real because it's joy from 2 feet on the ground, which I used to think was boring.
And I have my moon in my first house in Cancer. So I want to analyze all the emotions and why, and I'll give you a big hug and it's going to be okay. I want the truth, but let's sugarcoat it a little bit more than that.
Yeah. And both ways are perfect. Like we need all versions. I like to say I like the truth to the degree that makes most people nauseous. And I definitely encounter other people who are like, that's me. And I'm like, yes, I see you. And then there's people who are like, I like truth, but could we layer it a little bit with some other stuff? And there's no right way to human.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing this is a better version of being a human than another. It's just when you get to the other side of the mountain that you struggled with, what is the lesson that's written on your heart?
Yeah. Okay, so I do have some people who know me as someone who is very religious. I am very active in my faith. And what would you say to someone who feels like there is a what's the word? Like a contradiction between studying astrology and being a faith-filled person of God?
So if somebody were genuinely asking me and not just wanting to be combative, because those are obviously two different energies, because this is the number one question that I get asked, because I'm also a very religious person. I'm a very spiritual person and a very religious person, which by the way, you can totally see in my chart. And and I grew up in a very religious household. And growing up, it was like I noticed the horoscopes in the newspaper, but it was like, we don't touch the evil things was always the message. And it wasn't ever overt. It wasn't like, just so you know, astrology is evil, but it was understood. And so when I encountered this in my life, it was a huge shock that I was even open to it. But it was the way that it was introduced to me that made such a difference, because I was getting my hair cut. I had just gotten out of a really bad marriage, and she was like, oh, I'm really into astrology. When's your birthday? And I'm like, I'm a Sagittarius, but I don't really resonate with that. Like I tried to brush it off. And she's a Leo. And she was like, oh, okay, do you know the minute you're born? And I was like, yeah, doesn't everybody like, and she's like, no, not everybody knows that. And so she runs my chart and tells me all this really personal stuff about myself. She shined a light on things that I didn't even have language for. And she explained how it was that I got to where I was at, and why I kept having repeated experiences, and why I knew the minute I was born, because I have my moon in Virgo. And she's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And things like that nobody had ever been able to tell me something like that. I'm a personality quiz junkie. Like I love them. I became basically master level of a couple of systems, and love to talk about it all the time because I'm just an explorer. I love to seek. I love knowledge. And when she told me all of that, she did it in a light-filled way. I mean, she didn't use that term, but that's what she was doing. And the more that I asked her questions, I kept, she got a client for life for sure. And I kept asking her questions, and she would just give her insights. And she was so intuitive and so right. And it felt good. And by that point in my life, I had been through enough difficulty that I learned how to rely on God, that I had established a really true communication with God, and my discernment was extremely high. It took me a long time. I was about 35 by the time that I really learned to have that two-way communication with God. I always was God-centered in my life, but I didn't really know how to put my will down enough to hear him clearly. And it was about this season of my life. And I think that's why I wasn't introduced to it till after that point, because I knew I could trust myself. And so I feel no compulsion to go convert people to astrology, because I just know the journey that I needed to have. So I feel very called to gather those that are looking for it, but they're nervous about who to learn from. Because when you sit with it, God put the stars and the planets and everything in perfect motion and order and timing. There's multiple layers of purposes for that. And he has throughout time taught his prophets or the people that he has chosen to communicate with through the stars. And the Magi, the wise men who knew where to find the Christ child, did so because they were looking for the signs in the heavens. Now, people have no issue with astronomy when they're really religious, but astrology and astronomy used to be synonymous. Astronomy is just the study of the position of the stars, and astrology is the study of the signs in the stars. And God has told us in the scriptures that the stars and the moon have been ordained and that he has put signs in the heavens, and he has been doing this the whole time. There's many, many layers of things that point towards being able to study the stars to be able to understand ourselves better and understand the signs of what God is communicating to us. But you also don't need to be an astrologer to live a righteous and amazing and God-centered life. But you very much can be an astrologer and live a righteous and amazing and God-centered life. And those who are not of that persuasion, it's totally fine. They just haven't learned enough yet. And that's okay.
I love it. And you shared one time the idea of like sitting down with God before we came here and being like, okay, so what do you want to learn? Where can we put you? When do you want to go down so that you can have the ideal experience?
Yeah.
And then setting up everything so that it would all support us in this. I don't know if that's how you said it, but
I love your reflection back of it. It was beautiful.
I just love that idea that not only did he create me, but he set up everything for me to be able to perfectly succeed in being here and what I wanted to accomplish here. And being able to see some of that in my astrology chart is just.
You have a map. You can see this is what you're here to struggle with. This is what you're here to bring your gifts, and this other stuff you don't have a problem with. You don't even need to pay attention to it, when for other people that'll be their biggest struggle. And you can just get right to the heart of the things that you're here to learn and that you're here to work through, and lean into your gifts and just ditch the shame. Shame was never a part of the plan. It sneaks in and all of that, but nothing has ever been able to give me the perspective to deeply love myself and therefore be able to come to God more than astrology and human design.
Okay, so you have a new cohort starting Monday, is that right?
It's starting Wednesday. So Wednesday, October 4th is when the first content drops. And the structure of this program is it goes for 12 weeks. And on Wednesdays for this upcoming cohort, it changes with each cohort depending on the dates. But we've got to do Tuesday lives so that we dance around like Thanksgiving and everything. And so we get content on Wednesdays, and then the first live will be on October 10th. And the lives will be they'll start at 1 p.m. Eastern time or 10 a.m. Pacific time. So wherever you're at, that's 11 a.m. Mountain time, which is where I'm at. And we go for 90 minutes and they're recorded. So if you can't make it live, and you get content on Wednesdays, so you have a whole week to go through it, and then you pre-submit your questions, and then we have a really rich, amazing, life-changing conversation every single week for 3 months, and then you have all the knowledge that you need to be a light-filled astrologer.
And if someone isn't quite ready to jump that far in, you have some other courses that are.
Yes, I do. So if you're like, I've never even known that there was a moon sign, I have a free mini course. Like, it's just one of those, like, if you want to know more, it's free. There's a 30-minute video about astrology and a 45-minute video about human design. So really generous information, very thorough, enough that you can kind of begin to sink your teeth into. I mean, that could take you months to really process the information just in that, if you want to. And then I do have the Astrology for Real Connection course, is about 3 hours of video content that you can get on demand and you can go through. And I have a light-filled human design course that's about 5 hours of video content to really go through. That's really incredible. And then I do also have a self-study version of the certification. So if people want to be able to kind of go at their own pace, or they need a little bit of a lighter financial option, I have that now as well. That's all the content from the certification, but it does not include the opportunity opportunity to get certified, and it doesn't include the live Q&As, but you can upgrade to a live cohort in the future as well. And then the actual cohort. And I have some upgraded payment processors this time. So there's much more flexible payment plans, which is just incredible. You can break it up into 4 interest-free payments, or you can even Affirm. If you've ever tried to do shopping online, you probably have seen Affirm. The program itself is $3,300, $3,300, and very thorough, very dense, absolutely incredible. And the Affirm option will take it down to as low as $115 a month, which is like amazing. And so I'm having a lot of people taking advantage of that. Space is very limited, and I'm doing more interviews like this, so lots of people are learning about it. So if you're feeling like you want to get in, definitely reach out to Katherine, reach out to me. We'd be happy to answer your questions, and Katherine will drop a link in the comments here so that you can be able to sign up and get all the details too. Look at, everything. I know I'm a visual person. I need to see things written to make a decision. And I'm an emotional authority in human design, so I need to sleep on it for a couple of nights. So take the time if you need it. If you just know right now, if you're getting that, yes, this is for me, jump in, ask questions, whatever you need, but also feel free to take the time if you need it to make that decision.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
The self-study course, is that anybody can start anytime?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's very, it's the exact same content. I only just removed the videos that talk about the certification requirements because it's irrelevant until they get into the main cohort. And so that one is $1,550. And then to upgrade, it's just $2,000 more. So they get a $1,300 off coupon. So you would end up paying more in the long run, but it can be an excellent way to stair step your way in to be able to still participate without having to pay for the full program when you get into it. So that you can approach it basically any way that works for you.
Perfect. Okay. I'm so excited for this new group that's going to be starting. There's so much to be learned, and just so much good stuff ahead for them.
I think we'll cross the line of 100 light-filled astrology students with this cohort, which is very exciting. There's currently 22 certified light-filled astrologers, which is my why. It's why I do this. I just think that the world needs more light-filled astrologers, because there's lots of ways to heal. There's lots of ways to bring the light of God into the world. And this is the way that I feel directly called to, is to teach people this, so that in this little niche of the world, we can heal this way. And I believe everybody's called to do it in their own way. And when we listen, we're just helping the planet to heal in our own way so that we can all be one.
And if you do click on my links, I am an affiliate, so I do get some of the payment that goes to you, right?
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, full disclosure, I love having my affiliates. Those who've been through the program can be affiliates and be able to share about this in a heartfelt way that feels really authentic. And then I am very happy to provide generous compensation, because I'm limited. I can't tell everybody about this on my own. So this is all just part of, like, let's flood the world with light.
I love it. Okay, anything else we missed? Anything else you want to say?
I think all of this is amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm just so excited for those that get to see this that needed to.
Thank you. Thank you, Naomi.
Yeah, you bet.
Hey, take care.
Have a lovely rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, you too.
Bye.